Hasan debates with Uncle Cenk on trans issues. Just give me this.
Cenk Uygur is here, ladies and gentlemen.
I say at some point, look, my real opinion is at the professional level, yes, of course the leagues get to make their own decision. And sometimes, yes, trans women have an advantage and the league is allowed to say, no, we're not going to allow it, okay? So what happens next? Every single person that I know in mainstream media saw what they perceive as a progressive community, then called me a Nazi. Then they go, okay, progressives are lunatics. I'm writing all of them off, right? Are you kidding me? Because somebody's had like this microscopic difference of opinion with like the most radical end of the progressive base. They're right-wing pivot, Republican, Nazi. Well, okay, you guys sound nuts. Okay, and don't do that.
You think
Just
that,
say,
you think
hey,
that's what it
I
took?
disagree. So
There's not anything like inherently wrong with what's being said here. The problem is that this is the laziest argument you can possibly make. Like, I had a difference of opinion, everyone attacked me, so now I'm going to attack back, is like the easiest imaginable point you can make that you can make from any side of the spectrum, right? I've made it too, don't get me wrong. I think everyone has to some extent. The problem is that on its own, it says very little. Like, I had a difference in opinion and people attacked me over it. And that's why my new bugbear is like these people who attacked me over the difference of, and it's this like infinitely circular thing. It's like an infinite regress. I think that as I've gotten older, as in I've gotten better at the content creation stuff, I try to focus on it a little bit less. Like I try to focus on some groups as like object lessons, you know? Hey, this is bad and don't do that, but let's not fixate on it, right? But Cenk has been like hyper fixating on this.
So what?
Mainstream media literally called you a bestiality-loving horsefucker when you tried to run for office in California. You think they needed the fucking, you think they needed like 11 trans people with anime avatars on Twitter calling you a Nazi to be like...
To be fair, Vaush, I think sometimes you're a little bit too loose with the terms Nazi and fascist. I disagree.
My perspective is that they have every interest to fuck you every single time, mainstream media does, because of their underlying material interest in defending the corporate oligopoly structure that we have. This is who funds them. This is how people rise into positions of power in the media infrastructure. You've been a part of this already. Personally, you've seen it happen to you at MSNBC. So like, there is no reason why they're not looking at like magical trans people on Twitter and going, oh, that's it. Here's the reality. They're being crazy again. They're calling Cenk a Nazi.
Yes, they are. And you're looking for any excuse. I agree with that. But then stop giving them excuses, which is the point you started with.
Okay. there's a major disagreement here. We are at odds, and
I think this is pretty dumb. So first of all, I am familiar with the stupid shit that Cenk and Anna have said recently. So like the idea that they just like did some teeny tiny little shift that everyone's calling them a Nazi over, I know that's bullshit. So I know what's like framing the argument. But additionally, this like, oh, we're giving the right ammunition because everyone was super extra mean to me on this. That can happen, but it needs to be demonstrated on a case-by-case basis. But he's not really like explaining what specifically it is. Also, it's possible to have a good point that's framed in the wrong way. So, for instance, shoplifting is a social harm. It is. If people are shoplifting, it points to social harm. It points to a breakdown of the social contract. It points to poverty. It points to inequality. It points to a lack of cohesion and trust. If a world in which nobody shoplifts is a better world than one in which people do shoplift, all else being equal. However, it is very possible to point out that shoplifting is a social harm in ways that are fucking fascist. Like, let's be real, you know? And we see it all the time. Like, Donald Trump was recently saying, was it Trump or was it DeSantis, was recently saying, like, if you shoplift, you should just be killed. Like, if you attempt to shoplift from a store, they should just execute you in the store. Now, that is an anti-shoplifting take that I can't get behind. Obviously, the way in which you make these points and promote these arguments is really important, you know? Same with, like, drug dealers. I think that most drug dealers are scum, by the way. I don't think drug use or possession should be criminalized, but let's be real, most drug dealers are pieces of shit who profit off of human misery. Let's not, like, pretend that's not a real thing, okay? But then there's the whole, we should just execute drug dealers thing. And I don't like that as much. That's not an argument I play with. So it's not enough to just say, well, I have this position or I'm against this position. The extent to which you're against it and the way you promote it is also pivotal. A good example would be Anna Kasparian, who saw in one medical document in California the term birthing persons and decided to just make it her life now. You know, you can think that term is dumb if you want. I don't think it's wrong to think the term is dumb. That's not like morally, just like it's not like a death knell, right? But if you then decide to turn this into like a gigantic, I used to be with the left till I saw the term birthing persons, and then like, yeah, obviously. Yeah, Demon Mama, for sure. The shoplifting convo is so like fucked. We need to do like a big research stream on this because people so overstate the thing. Like, now that security cameras and phone cameras are more common, we're seeing more like examples of organized retail theft, but the overall numbers on how much is getting shoplifted is not like proportional to the media exposure, and as the media gives more attention to it, it gives an impression of increasing crime, and this is exactly how we get like a fascist propaganda where we have like increasing levels of alarmism where they overstate the degree of social harm and crime and everything, and it's like, well, the only way to get rid of this is with a giant social crackdown, and then blah, blah, blah. Like, we've seen this all happen before. That's not to say it's not an issue. It's just like, holy shit, you know, you got to be careful. Big problems.
The same people that call you transphobic also called me transphobic all the fucking time. The difference is I don't change my perspective at the end of the day, or even offer it any fucking additional light, because who fucking cares? You just do what you think is right and you keep pushing. And I think that it's very...
This is generally a good idea. Can you imagine how ineffective of a politician Bernie Sanders would have been if every time anyone like disagreed with him, he put everything to the side and he was just like, no, I'm going to beef with you now. And like he didn't like keep on message or like stay consistent or whatever, because he was always like turning heel to go argue with other people. That kind of bitter factional infighting keeps the left down. It is true that generally speaking, you want to like keep on trucking ahead.
So look, guys, first of all, let's just be clear on everything, okay? So number one, I fight for trans rights. I have for 21 years when no one else was. So if you don't like it and you don't believe it, that's up to you. You can do whatever the hell you want, okay? So, and I just told you all my positions, which are actually 99% identical to the most extreme trans right activists, right? So we have a microscopic difference. So somebody asks me about it, I say it once, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. And then a giant pylon starts because people want clout. They're like, oh, no, he's not as good as me. He's not as pure as me. He's a right-winger. He's a Nazi. Okay, so I'm like, I ignore it. And then they just...
I've heard this rhetoric like so many times, you know, like so many times. I've heard the same, like, this like understatement of what you did initially and overstatement of the backlash, taking no accountability for anything. The funny thing is that Cenk is like the most argumentative motherfucker on the internet. So if you go to his Twitter account, anytime Anna said one retarded thing, he would be defending her with like 70 supportive retarded things. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I love Cenk for that, for sure. Definitely a ride or die kind of friend. So the idea that like Cenk of all people doesn't like engage with or exacerbate disagreement is really, it's stupid. It's out of character for him. Of course he does.
Keep going, and I don't give a shit. They could do whatever they want, but then don't pretend that I brought it up. No, you brought it up, and you made it a giant issue, and you're the one hurting the progressive cause and the trans rights cause. We win on every goddamn issue on trans rights. Why are you going and dying on the hill that no one agrees with you on? You're going to ruin trans rights on other issues.
Okay.
We're going to lose because you're being so extreme.
And this rhetoric too, like I've heard this so many times, it's so fucking tedious. It's not that it's always wrong. It's possible for this rhetoric to be correct. It's just that everyone says it. Everyone says, if anyone has a more reactionary position than like another left-leaning person, they will say, well, actually, my reactionary position is the pragmatic one, and by being more progressive than me, you're alienating voters. Like, I've heard this, everyone says this. It's like the go-to thing that you say to a person who is more left-leaning.
And then every ally you have, you're like, nope, I'm going to be more pure than them. So I'm going to burn their bridge down. I don't want any allies. Okay, well then don't have any allies.
Okay, if both of our goals are aligned and we are interested in coalition building and actually fighting for justice, okay, there's two different things to do here. One is try to engage in purges and try to say this purity spiral is self-defeating, which I agree with you on.
100%.
Or the other thing is to just stay the course and just let people chirp into the void and never give them an ounce of pushback, because why? Every single, if people are looking for
class, come on, get out of here.
No, that's not a get out of here situation.
So here, I'll tell you exactly what happens. No, this is really important because you know why? So Haas, so every time we say any little thing, all the other streamers and stuff, these come in and go, oh, we're better than the Young Turks. We're better than the Young Turks. We agree with you 200%. They're such monsters. And they
for somebody who's been doing this for literally 4 times as long as I have, he is remarkably childish, isn't he? Like, I get embroiled in so much drama, and the way in which he engages with this, like, seriously, come on, proportional to the size of my community and my outreach, I get more drama than TYT does. Yes, it's absolutely true. TYT gets more drama in total, but they're also far larger than I am, which is a mitigating factor. I, proportional to the size of my audience, get far more, but like he can't write it off, which is a necessary skill if you're going to get embroiled in a lot of drama, because if you don't write it off, you might as well just be a fucking drama YouTuber. You have to, at that, like past a certain point, you're not even a politics YouTuber. You're like a politics themed drama YouTuber where your channel exists primarily to farm content off of a non-stop series of petty personal gripes that you drive up and exacerbate and monetize. And everyone does this to some extent, but like, fuck, you gotta have a thicker skin.
Ultimately, if you want to have a productive, if you want to have a productive and successful coalition, you just can't stress that shit out. Okay, you can't.
No, I'm good with
even
it.
Even if
Look,
they
I
say
was super clear. You like what we're saying, you come to the Young Turks. If you don't like it and you want super radical weirdos, there's like a million shows for you.
That's what you're doing. Like you're casting everyone else in a bad light. Don't even talk about it. Don't even bring it up. That's it.
Okay, so I know I've been punched in the face 200 times, and I'm not allowed to punch back.
Exactly, 100%.
It's just whiny, dude. I don't know. I feel like I figured this out like really early, and I mean, I'm an adult too. He's more of an adult, and I guess he's older. He's more experienced than I am. Just so they're all allowed to attack me, and I can't dedicate my entire programming to lashing out at Twitter comments? Yes. Yes, that is how it works. That is true. All right, nice meme. What did we learn from this? Absolutely nothing.